more of like, why does truth matter, right? Like, I think like anybody can define what truth is for them, and quite frankly, it's like we have so little information about the world. I think it's very difficult to argue that like anything, in my opinion, like anything is uh one truth is completely true. Even like laws of physics, could be disproved in some other distant galaxy or whatever. Um, or just by obtaining more information about our world. So to me, I guess one of the more interesting questions around truth is like, why does it matter to necessarily define truth objectively? Uh, why does it matter to have your own truths or to believe that there is some universal truth? Because in my opinion, I just don't. How people define truth for them doesn't really matter unless you're considering how they apply that truth in their own lives. You know, um, someone might believe something is true, but at the same time, not want to follow that or not want to like respect that for other reasons. But I feel like that's kind of more of a that's a more interesting idea in my opinion than um, exactly how others define truth. Yeah,
So I guess your question is, why should we value the word truth or the concept of truth at all?
exactly.
Mm. Can we build off things that are not true? Can we build logical structures? And does it matter if we do?
I mean, they're not
I
logical
think truth.
structures. You can build
You go,
structures off of
Max.
things that aren't true. Like, you can give me any idea, and I can construct an entire universe of concepts along this idea. But it's not really
Mm.
the same structure. It's not like putting bricks on top of each other. It's more like being in a room and just looking at a ton of bricks. I don't think without logic you can't directly build a solid idea. It's kind of like you have no form of direction.
Mm. And Colin?
What was the question again that you posed?
If I give you something that was not true, could you build a logical tower? Or is that logical tower unnecessary by itself as well?
If I gave you something that's untrue, could you build a logical
Like
tower on
it's
top of that?
1 equals 2.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. I mean, people do it all the time.
Isn't that how
I
we
mean,
learn? You just come up with like an assumption and you try to prove it with logic.
yeah, yeah. I don't think logic's a good. I don't think you can. I don't think logic's like a litmus test of like if something's true or not.
Mm.
Um, and quite frankly, I don't really care. It doesn't really matter how someone defines certain information, whether that information is seen as subjective, an opinion, a truth. It just matters, in my opinion, how that person applies it and the weight that they give to each of those words. Whether someone is more likely to follow truth or more likely to follow their opinions, whether someone believes that their opinions must always align with the truth, which I don't think is always a given. Um, I don't know. That to me is more interesting than defining uh, things, categorizing information.
Is there an objective truth though? Like, is there something, anything that you could say is true?
I think they're universal. I think there are a lot of universal truths, like things that appear to like apply to everything and every circumstance. Um, whether that's objective
Mm.
is probably incorrect because it's applying in every circumstance based on the human eye, based on human perception. So I don't think you could say objective because objective is the idea that, in my opinion, you're outside of the human, scope. So I wouldn't say it's objective. I would say it's universal because it's applied in all many different situations, and everyone's seeing it the same way. But I wouldn't say that it's objective. You know,
Mm.
that's just
Is
stupid.
there?
Again, what I said there is stupid because it's again just a semantic argument. Some
Yeah.
could come and go, well, my. It's just I don't find that. It's like, okay, can you just define things differently?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, like, my kind of way of thinking about it is not as much in terms of words, because as you say, words are so abstract, they're so uh, effervescent. But I would say that you can take kind of the concepts, right? Like the concept of truth, that one thing is objectively here. And I'd say that when I think about it that way, the only thing I could say is true is that I exist, that there is existence. Everything else I can't say objectively is, or any I can't really say it's true, not in terms of the definition, but in terms of the concept itself. You see what I mean?
Yeah, like the definition, I exist.
Colin, you're on mute.
Oh, like
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think therefore I am. Like yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And Max, what were you saying?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The words, I think, therefore I am, the definition you can't prove is true. Just the concept of this is true.
Mm.
Because the word, like, the phrase you used, I think, therefore I am. Like, what is it to be? Am or I. They're all just meaningless concepts, words that we don't really know. They're not fundamental. It's not like saying a law that's trying to describe something that we can't really describe.
We say with 100% accuracy that something is, and say that is a universe, like 100% truth.
I would say the only thing you could say that is 100% truth is that there is existence. Like me, there is something. Because if that wasn't true, then I wouldn't be able to come to that conclusion. It's the same, I think, therefore I am, that Colin mentioned. If I think about the fact that I am here, I am here. Because if I couldn't think about that fact, I wouldn't be here. But
Yeah.
things like this marker, I can't say is 100% true, because it's a idea that my brain constructs about this set of atoms, and there might be like a dreamlike state as well. I have no way of knowing for sure, just as Colin said. But I think Colin's point was very valid, that why should we follow truth at all, instead of just following things like opinion, belief, etc.
I think it's a probability. It's almost a probability argument. The argument for following truth is to say that, well, I guess you start with that whole thought experiment by assuming that all truths are inherently also false, right? Because there's some missing information. So all truths are to some extent an opinion, because you're taking in information and you're making some type of claim, right? So it's not completely, all truths are not completely solidified, right? There could be some possible contradictions, even to the ones that we haven't found contradictions to yet. Opinions, on the other hand, like they're very easily, you can see the contradictions, easily more with what we would describe as opinions. Like if someone had the opinion that, I don't know, any opinion, like you can easily find like some contradiction within that. So I guess it's more on a spectrum, in the sense that like you could follow truths because a contradiction hasn't come up yet, and so therefore it's more reliable, even though there is the possibility that it is likely going to be contradicted by some type of new revelation. Or you could follow your opinions and just say, for other practical reasons, even though there are already contradictions within that opinion, that it's only somewhat less trustworthy, but for other reasons, it's more practical to follow. It's not like you see what I mean? Like it's not like a binary thing. It's like it's more about like we can recognize that all of our truths at this have some faults to them, even like the laws of nature or whatever. It's just a question of like, if you don't see those contradictions, if you don't see those faults yet, does that make it more reliable than the opinions that you already see the contradictions in? You see what I mean?
I see what you mean. And I think it comes down to the fact that we don't have kind of a fundamental value system for the universe. Like there is no objective morality, right, that we know of yet. But the only way to find an objective morality is to attain all of those truths, attain all cosmic knowledge, basically. And the only way to do that is to follow the truths. Because suppose you have an opinion. You don't know if it's valuable or not valuable without having more information. Like if I had the opinion that a certain person was evil, was bad, I wouldn't be able to confirm that without knowing everything about the person, about the situation, about morality in general, about the universal morality. And the only way to know about the universal morality is to attain all the truths, I guess.
Yeah, and I would say, like, if you're arguing why we follow these right truths, right? These truths that are built upon like other things that are considered truths and may not be true, essentially. Someone, I think, who tries to follow 100% truths based on what they view is most likely, versus someone that recognizes that, you know, that says like, well, we don't know anything, so we essentially know nothing. What I think, what I believe doesn't matter. I believe that first person is more likely to reach that knowledge than the second person. It's more productive, right?
Well, I would counter that a little bit because Colin and I had a very interesting discussion about this. If you look at people like philosophers or philosophy students, oftentimes they'll form like a very small circle, and their beliefs will rest in that very small circle. And they rest in that very small circle because if they venture outside, they might be wrong. But all of their truths line up in that circle, and it's all circular reasoning, so all of their truths support each other. But then they never venture outside of that. So they never learn, they never explore, they never do anything. But we were saying that if you want to gather more information, the only way to do that is to have some sort of beliefs that are not confirmed as true or false yet. And I think you must hold that. You must hold some sort of faith in order to gather more information. Otherwise, like those, philosophy students or philosophers, you stay in that little comfortable zone, but you never actually learn or grow or challenge your beliefs.
Right. So
Yeah,
you're saying
it's
we
like
have to accept. So
go
you're
go
saying
on.
we have to accept things that are less likely to be true in order to explore the possibilities and truly find out, like go down those paths, right? To see if they're legit or not.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. That I think the idea is like it almost comes down to the scientific method in the sense that you are, with your hypothesis, in the beginning, you are like you're taking a leap of faith, right? You're not saying, oh, because this is immediately, this immediately lacks evidence, or this immediately lacks, proper philosophical, justifications, or because this rests on an assumption, I just can't even go there. It's just completely out of bounds. Um, it's just like recursive, you can't get anywhere. Um, I agree. One thing I was thinking recently though about universalism was, I think universalism, it does. I mean, obviously, one of the things is it does presuppose that there's an end, there's a finite amount of knowledge in the system. If the universe is a fractal, which I think it very well could be, in the sense that it's just infinite. Universalism is like, it's like a cat chasing its tail.
I
It doesn't.
disagree. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It you presuppose that there is some end goal, like in a marathon, like there's some finish line that you cross, and that there is some knowledge of that knowledge. Like you presuppose that there is knowledge of the fact that the universe is a fractal. I think if the universe is a fractal, I don't think that knowledge exists. It's just infinite, right? So that's the main, but I'm not saying I'm against the philosophy. I'm just saying that it's an action oriented way of thinking, but it's not trying to say that this is going to be correct at the end of the day. It's not a contradiction of the philosophy, but it's more recognition that perhaps the end goal of philosophy, which is all cosmic knowledge, is a little bit misleading. Whereas I feel like the idea is more of it's the pursuit of more knowledge. But
Would you say like all
saying that it's,
possible knowledge?
or it's just the pursuit of more knowledge. Because if you say it's pursuit of all cosmic knowledge, you presuppose that one can't possess all cosmic knowledge. That that there is a finite amount of knowledge that one can possess. If the universe is like a fractal, if the universe is infinite, and if knowledge is infinite, which I think is a good idea, then it's there's no all cosmic knowledge. There's no difference between the knowledge you have now and the knowledge you have with a hive mind sometime in the future, because when things are infinity, just mathematically we know this, it doesn't matter where you are in that spectrum. It's infinite. So yeah.
Okay, I've quite a couple things to say on this. A very interesting point you bring up. I've talked to it about it with a lot of people. So one thing, the fractal universe and infinite universe are two kind of distinct things. So infinite universe, most likely you cannot get all cosmic knowledge, but you could. I'll venture off on that point. Fractal universe, you could. So fractal is a self-symmetric pattern. Well, if we're talking about a self-symmetric fractal, it's a pattern that repeats recursively. And in each layer, you have the entire fractal within it. So the fractal is built on more versions of itself. And so if you just are within that fractal, if you're embedded inside of it, you could analyze the entirety of the fractal by analyzing a part of it. So if it was a fractal, an infinite fractal universe, theoretically you could attain all cosmic knowledge because each part of it is a smaller version of the whole. And so you just have to...
Yeah, I think I meant the fractal more as an analogy of this thing that's infinitely expanding. This thing that's infinite, you can't reach the bottom of. Not the actual like geometric idea. Like obviously a fractal, you can create a fractal out of one equation. That equation holds all cosmic knowledge of the fractal. That's not what I'm saying. It's more the analogy of the infinite.
Okay, so yeah, so there's that point as well, that there is kind of the infinite universe. And that is a valid point. Right now, with the knowledge we have, it doesn't seem that our universe is infinite. It's that it expands ever increasingly, but it is a finite universe. The second thing to think about is that even if it was infinite, there are geometric representations of infinite things. So like a graph that is x squared is technically infinite because it goes off to both ends, but it is able to be abstracted away into the equation y equals x squared, which is a finite thing. And I'm presupposing the idea that you could capture infinity in finite representations, but in mathematics that is entirely possible. It's just that we don't have enough knowledge to know within the universe if this is possible. I'd say, though, it is action-oriented, as Colin says, but I think it's important that it be that way, because if we were to say it's the gathering of more knowledge, more and more knowledge, and there isn't an end, then theoretically, if we go on infinitely, it has no use. But as I view it, all cosmic knowledge is a step. It's a step in the direction of purpose. So we want all cosmic knowledge to determine the purpose of the universe and to answer those fundamental questions, right? It's like a phase 1 of 2. And I think if the only philosophy was to gather more and more knowledge, there's no kind of end in sight. And because there's no end in sight, there is no system that we can use to determine value. The argument for universalism is that if you have all cosmic knowledge, you can create a system of value based upon objective universal standards. You could create a universal morality and use that to determine your pursuit, if it was good, if it was bad, etc. But if you're just getting more and more knowledge, there's no objective universal morality. So there's no way to value that this is better than just sitting around. The only way to measure whether this is better than sitting around is the end goal, to get to the end and then look back retroactively.
Yeah. I always have a hard time with, and those are really good points. I always have a hard time with I think when we, I'm sure you do too, but it's like when I have a hard time with the ideas of end goals. Because I don't think the universe thinks in the way that humans think, in the sense that there's X1, X2. I just don't think that the universe thinks in terms of the way that we've kind of perceived our world. I mean, you are one of the ones that argue that humans could even rewire their brain and see things completely differently. If humans have that ability, um, then then it's certainly the universe thinks in a far different way than us. And so I always have a hard time with that idea of like the end, because it's like it assumes a lot, because you're presupposing that the universe is linear in some sense, or is, there's some like end to that line of knowledge. You assume that that knowledge can be acquired through like chronological like means, like traveling from the present to the future. Like you assume that knowledge lies somewhere in the future, or like is, you know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah.
positioned at one point in time. Like there's just a lot of like assumptions that are made. You pretty much make an assumption about X, Y, and Z when you make that kind of a statement that there's some end that you can get to, because you just, yeah, I always have a hard time with that. I have a hard time with that, like in religion too, of like believing that the human mind is able to um to filter these ideas down to our understanding and still hold their truths. And I just don't think that's the thing that messes me up. I agree all public knowledge, but I don't even know how you would go about that, because it's like you can't fit the universe into our own terms. You've got to. What does that mean? Does that require going into the past? Does that require, I don't know what that means. Like it's not like you can just study a textbook, you get to the end of the book, and then you're done. It's like yeah.
Well, on the first point, I definitely agree. Like, I go back and forth about whether the universe like could have a purpose and what it would look like a lot of the times. Lately, I've been kind of veering towards the idea that if you consider our own brain as a bunch of atoms moving around in some sort of pattern of computation, then if you look at that at a larger scale, the universe could be doing something similar, where a bunch of atoms are moving around in a large scale computation that mirrors our brain, and it has some sort of analogous concept towards purpose. And that's kind of what I look at purpose in terms of. I think a lot of the time we're gearing towards some sort of like religious purpose or hell or heaven. I think of it more like the universal brain is gearing towards some sort of trajectory. But
So I'm gonna send you something.
Mm.
I'll send you something. I'll send all of you it, actually. And it was actually a last quarter I took a philosophy class, and the guy sent us 100 pages of reading in like 3 days. But the point was, in all that reading, there was one. It was Hume. There was one section about the analogies for the universe, right? Like basically these philosophers are going back and forth, and one of them is saying the universe is like a tree. It has seeds, that it's planting like a tree. And another one's like, no, it's like, it's like an animal that's giving birth to other, and it's really interesting. It reminds me a lot of that argument that you're making, which is this idea of that and I think this is a widely accepted idea, but that the effects must resemble the causes, right?
exactly.
That if the effect is human consciousness, the cause must bear some similarity to that effect. Which there's a lot of literature on that, and I think it's convincing in some ways and unconvincing in other ways. I think it's somewhat convincing, but then it's hard because there's evolution, and there's things that can make something seem, I don't know. But but it's interesting that whole paper is about causes, effects resembling causes, and analogies for the universe based on our current understanding. And there's actually like a dialogue in there where the person says, "Listen, we have no other information available to us. The best guess we can make is just to basically analogize and try to create some concept for the universe based on what we see around us." So it reminds me a lot of this, in the sense that the skeptic in the argument is basically like, how can you say that you have no evidence? Like you're whittling the whole universe down to human perception. And he's like, well, we have no other choice. all we have is our brains. So like that's all we have. So this reminds me a lot of that. I'll try to send it over.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Seems interesting though. No, I totally agree. Like what do you want us to do? Not use our brain to figure out the universe? What else can we use? It's ultimately we must make some sort of assumptions, and the assumptions that we make are more beneficial if they are more accurate or align more with the truths that we have. So I definitely agree with that responding argument of what else can we do?
And the guy literally just says like, he's like, yeah, but I mean, obviously, like in old, English. And he's like, he's basically saying like, uh, like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is all we have, Like, I mean, in very proper terms, but it's like, basically, like, dude, what else do you want us to use? It's like you're only using your human brain. It's like, what else do we have? That's all we got. Yeah, it might still be wrong. I'm probably still wrong.
Yeah. Max, Kyle, what do you think?
Purpose is such a
Uh, I would say
go on.
I was gonna say like I agree with Colin in the sense that we don't know for sure how the universe behaves, right? Like that's obvious. We don't know if there is an end. It could be infinite, like he said, and all cosmic knowledge could be an illusion that we're forever chasing. But it could be the other way too, right?
Mhm.
We don't have. We're making these guesses. We're making these assumptions, but truly we don't know anything about like where the universe stops, what its purpose is. So it's like we may never reach an answer, but we have to try. I feel like, and if we believe that there is an answer, in some way I feel like we're more likely to reach that.
No, I agree with you because it's like the Wright brothers. In in tens of thousands of years of human history, every single person you would ask on the street would say humans cannot fly. That is a given. Yeah, I can't just jump off a building and float around. But the Wright brothers thought maybe humans can fly. Maybe we can build mechanical wings. And even though the most logical assumption was that humans will never be able to fly, you have to believe that they are able. And if you believe that they are, and you actually pursue that as an end, then you might be able to allow humans to fly. If you just make that assumption and never attempt it, you will never know for sure.
Right.
But if you attempt it, and humans are able to fly through things like aeroplanes, then you can disprove that assumption. But it's if you stay in that comfort zone, you can never prove or disprove it, and so it just becomes a invaluable belief.
Right. And it's going back to our earlier point of like a person who tries to act the most logically will lose things, right? They won't be able to understand things because they reach a point where they say like, oh, this is 80% likely and this is 20% likely, so I'm gonna go with the assumption that this 80% thing is true. You have to explore all the possibilities, and until we know all the possibilities, whether that even exists or not, we have to keep exploring.
If the universe is infinite, we would get stuck forever. For infinity, we would be like just pursuing knowledge. Even if we had like 99.999, like almost infinite certainty that the universe was infinite, we wouldn't stop because that point, so small percent chance. It would just be endless forever. There would be no end to the pursuit.
See, that used to scare me, and then I thought about the fact that what else would I do with infinity? If I'm anyways going to live an infinitely long time, because I am the universe and the universe never gets destroyed, then I might as well do something with it, and that something is pursuing all cosmic knowledge because maybe there is an end. Like, what else would I do? I don't think there would be anything else of value.
Yeah, like my human feelings are saying like that would be kind of tragic if there was an infinite universe and we're just stuck. But in that situation, realistically, you're right. What else are you gonna do except keep trying?
I mean, in a way, it'd be kind of cool. Like, it'd be more interesting in our current lives now. Like, every moment, you're getting more powerful, solving all these brilliant equations of the cosmos. You wouldn't really have a
I
choice.
don't. If I am taking that analogy of the brain, theoretically, your brain can figure itself out. That's what neuroscience is. It's our own brains being able to map how our brains work. If you think about the cosmos as a giant brain, it's doing the same thing. It's figuring out how itself works. And it can use many different perspectives to do that. It can figure itself out based on purpose, based on physics, based on epistemology. It can do anything. It can figure it all out. But there is no infinity in that. If I look from a neuroscience perspective, I can map exactly how my brain works to a finite end. And if I look at the universe as a cosmic brain, it can do the same. That's how I view it. If it is truly infinite, it also has infinite computational power. It can compute infinitely as well, which makes it the most powerful machine that we ever have, and the most powerful machine we can ever have can compute things that are infinite as well. We're thinking about it from an outside perspective. If we think about it as us ourselves, then it becomes much more feasible. Because then we are also that really huge thing that can utilize all of our resources, all of our intelligence, all of our computational power towards figuring itself out.
It's almost like theoretically, if we can pinpoint everything about our brain or our body or whatever we choose to, it could apply to the entire universe. I mean, big assumption, but it makes sense.
Is it possible we get to all cosmic knowledge, or we believe it's all cosmic knowledge, but our way of thinking and the way that we are connected to this universe, just as our way of logic is just completely off, and we didn't actually reach all cosmic knowledge? There was something that prevented us, and we were just in ignorance. Can we truly know that we reached all cosmic knowledge?
I think part of at least I asked this question, I remember, to you, Rishi, it's like a little while ago. And it was like, how do you know we're there? Well, I guess within all cosmic knowledge is the knowledge that you have all cosmic knowledge.
I mean, mathematically, so there's these things called infinite sets, and infinite sets have sets of themselves within it. And so it's like a fractal. You could just analyze the partial set, or the smaller version of the set, and then see that you have the whole set.
But wouldn't it be possible we'd still be missing something? Just fundamentally, we are thinking about this wrong. The logic and the structured reasoning, the math, everything is just off. We were destined to have the wrong tools. Can we truly know
Anything's
if that was
I'd
all
say it's
cosmic knowledge?
possible. You
It
know,
doesn't seem likely.
like
Like,
we
it's
could reach
possible that
all
we
cosmic
our
knowledge.
heads. It's possible our heads explode a minute into this call. It's not likely, but it's possible.
That'd be very interesting.
Would
I don't think
universalism resurface?
Colin would get
I think it would.
noticed.
I think it would too.
I always look back throughout history when I'm doing research or just going down a Wikipedia rabbit hole, and I find these people, and I think to myself, oh, they would make such good universalists if only they knew. Like Ayn Rand, like I was reading some of her lectures. If she was introduced to universalism, I think she would have been a universalist.
But
I
one
heard
could argue
everyone
that, like,
hates on Ayn Rand.
I
Dude.
love her. I love Ayn Rand.
Isn't she like an ultra like authoritarian like
Other way,
wasn't
ultra
she sexist or
libertarian.
something too? A libertarian?
Yeah, she's interesting when discussing relationships and sexism. Very interesting. Colin, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was saying, I think that a lot of people though in history have been universalists. I think people are universalists before they even know it. I think most intellectual people are. It's like giving the person the name doesn't really do much. I
I
guess
think what
also the
giving
point
them a
about the
name.
writers. I think all writers are racist, sexist, and liars.
Yes, he's
I think that's
speaking
just
from
the way it works.
experience.
Well, also like Sterling, my creative writing instructor, he was like, he's like, yeah, liar. And he's like, writers are just fucking liars. He was like, you can't listen to anything that they say. He was talking about James Joyce, and he's like that guy, like, I forget what the example was. Or he said that he was like a fighter pilot for, or no, it was Hemingway or Faulkner or someone said they were a fighter pilot for a while, and then someone in an interview said, "Hey, you weren't a fighter pilot," and then they just said, "Yeah," like they didn't, they just like they're like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Yeah, like writers are just like, they're just I mean, just liars. They just lie." I don't know.
On your first point, though, I
That's
think giving
interesting.
them a name has power, though, because once you give them a name, they join a community. Once they join a community, the community helps each other in order to reach an end goal. And I think that's the power. Because if they think they are alone, it is a lot more difficult to pursue an ambitious goal. But if they think that they are part of a community and the community itself is pursuing this end goal, it's a lot more viable. It's feasible now.
Touche, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say Colin as a writer is definitely a
It's
racist.
interesting you were talking about lies.
Go ahead.
Anyway, lies. When I think about what it means to lie, I think it is voluntarily saying something that you do not believe to be true yourself. And if you flip that around with that definition, you could say a truth is something you believe and leave it at that.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is a.
It's true to you, right?
It's. I mean, when you look at, I was thinking about this from a mathematical standpoint. What is truth mathematically?
Right, yeah.
There is no truth
Yeah,
mathematically.
objectively.
There is no objective
Yeah.
mathematical. It is what the observer
Yeah.
says is true, and they draw a line and they say these are the truths, these are the falsehoods. And so you were right in that perspective. It's what you believe to be true.
I think that there's different like forms of truth and how we define it. Like there's the universal laws of like physics of like conservation of energy. We could point at as a truth because it has always held true from what we know. You could say that's more a universal truth, but we also don't know that. But it is more commonly held than a truth. I might say like the only person that can cause you suffering is yourself, and believe it, right? And hold it as a truth. There is something to be said about truths that you believe versus truths that everyone believes, or like everyone with a fundamental understanding of science, how things work, believes.
What's a truth that everyone with a fundamental understanding of science believes?
Like law of conservation of energy.
It's interesting to note that these laws of physics are observations. Every single one of them.
Hey guys, I gotta run. This was a fun conversation. I gotta go to dinner, but thank you. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Venture Forth.
Bye,
See
Colin.
you next week.
Venture
See you
forth.
guys. All right. Have a good week. Bye.
It is an observation, but it's one we've collectively agreed on as a scientific community. and then there are observations that we make that we can hold as true that haven't been agreed on in the wider scheme of things. Is one more true than the other?
I don't agree on them. I
On
just
the
see
l-
them as theories.
Mm.
Just like everything's just a theory when it really comes down to it. They're not truths that I agree
yeah.
with. It's just like, okay, logically, we're building a structure here off of some observations, and it's just the path of learning more, trying to disprove and prove things.
Yeah, we're not talking about like the objective truths here. We're talking about what are the most likely subjective truths.
Dude, they're all just guesses right now.
But we hold weight more towards some than others.
I don't think we should.
Really? Explain.
I mean, fundamentally, we should not hold weight towards more. Yeah, I guess some are more structured, some are more logical. They'll get us farther. But I really think it's important to
Do you think there's a base truth, one that is 100% true?
a base truth.
Mhm.
We talked about it earlier, just exist. Not the word exist,
Exist.
but exist.
So can you build off that to make more true statements, or more that are likely to be true?
Yeah, they're likely to be true. There's a lot of things.
And if there's one that doesn't build off of that, is it less likely to be true?
Yeah. Is there anything that could disprove that we, like, exist?
If we suddenly snap out of existence.
So then do we really exist?
As long as we don't snap out.
Okay. I guess for now.
I mean, it's hard to even define what exists means, right? All that we know is that there is something. There's awareness, there's existence, there's something. And we know it's not mathematical. Like, there's physics.
Honestly, don't you?
There's physics and then there's mathematics. And mathematics.
I honestly don't even know if we can consider that like an objective truth.
What? Existence?
Sorry, guys, I keep cutting out.
Are you lagging a little bit?
What?
Are you lagging? Or you're cutting
I
out?
can't hear you guys. Yeah, I'm lagging.
Everyone's lagging.
Really? I'm not lagging.
I'm not lagging.
None of you are lagging. Which one of us is telling the truth?
I can't.
Me.
What?
Okay, Kyle. Okay.
Okay, let's just all leave and rejoin.
Are you recording the meeting, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Hey, Kyle.
Kyle?
What were you saying?
So what I was saying before is that there's physics and there's mathematics. The universe is not mathematics because mathematics is all possible truths. It's everything that could ever be. And the mathematician draws a line between what is true and what is false. Physics is a certain instantiation of mathematics. It's a discrete set of rules. It's a certain set of essentially directed or specific quantities. Like this object is here, this object is not here. And in mathematics, they could be either, and both are accurate. But in physics, only one of them has existence and one of them doesn't. Or one of them is more likely to exist and one of them is less likely to exist. And so physics is not mathematics. The universe is not mathematics. Universe is physics, which is what it actually is, not what it could be. Mathematics is all that could be. Kyle, what were you talking about?
I was going with the observation we made about how, like, something exists as a fundamental truth,
Mm.
I would say we can't even know that for sure. We,
Why?
it depends how. I don't think we have an understanding of like what nothing truly is.
Mm.
What defines what is something and what is not.
That's a good point.
I mean, we have truly had no experience or knowledge of nothingness. How can we say even this isn't nothingness, or that they're the same thing?
Could we say this is this? Like everything that is is.
This makes sense. Yeah.
This is a more
This is
accurate
this.
statement.
Ayn Rand has a way of saying that. She says A is A. Everything that is something is that thing. I think she would have made a good universalist because of that. Her philosophy is very similar.
Okay, I could get behind that.
Why does everyone hate Ayn Rand? Who do you know that hates Ayn Rand?
Like everyone on the internet that I've ever heard talk about Ayn Rand has been in a negative context.
Why?
I don't know why though.
What's
I don't know
funny?
what she's about.
What's funny is that she controlled society essentially. Like now, our entire society is based upon Ayn Rand's worldview. Everyone that you know who's like a businessman and pursues profit and happiness as like their main objective, essentially is following her worldview. Like our whole society is based upon Ayn Rand, yet everyone seems to hate her.
Wait, so what were her ideas?
That happiness is the prime mover of man. It's what our core objective should be. That the best ways to attain happiness are to follow your fundamental truth. That the best indication of your fundamental truth is the profit motive. That production is more important than sort of communal support. So she was a very staunch capitalist, a very staunch libertarian, very, very individualistic, very rational. So she based all of her ideas on rationalism. And she called her philosophy objectivism because she did not want to introduce any irrational arguments, any feelings, anything that is not provable fact. She was very interesting person.
She really shaped the
I
entire
mean, I do
society.
like the part about.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Jeez.
Kyle,
'Cause I can't hear you.
Max, can you hear me?
Hello?
Max, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Could you
Um,
hear me this whole time?
most of it.
Huh.
You're a lot better than Kyle. Kyle's
Mm.
in and out. I've been thinking a lot about truths and how people think. The default mode network of the brain, it's creating a narrative for everyone. And these truths people hold is almost their sense of self. So when you try to question it, poke at it, or even understand it, a lot of times they have a hard time even considering a new possibility because you're poking at their existence itself. And there's certain people. Oh, wait. I'm lagging. I don't think it's going to work for me right now. Yeah, there's when you try to poke at it, you're poking at their existence itself. And from these axioms, assumptions, there's certain people, like how I used to be, that didn't really have these core values of meaning or of existence. And because of that, I was more open to new things, more malleable at the bottom. But I built logical, structured arguments from this more malleable point. And certain people, they don't use logical thinking at all, I've been realizing. I can speak with them, and I can go through their truths, go through universalism. I can use logic. I can get them to the full page of all cosmic knowledge. But the issue is their default mode of thinking is not using structured thought. It's a lot more conceptual, like we talked about. Thinking is very much arranged. Some people much more follow associations. I wouldn't say it's emotional thinking, but often more associated thinking leads to more illogical thinking, which is emotional. So it just creates these circles, and they're normally followed by a baseline assumption, a baseline truth of their reality that makes up who they are. And breaking that is like ego death, and you kind of admit you know nothing.
I definitely agree, and I think that one of the main reasons that all open-minded people are not viable universalists is because of that fact. Because you have to, in some sense, be able to have structured thought. You have to be able to not follow intuition and feelings and illogical conclusions from logical premises. And that is why I lean towards scientists who are open minded as viable universalists, because they are able to have that structural thought. And ultimately, every human is capable of structured thought. It's just that a lot of the times, some of us are raised to not consider it as particularly valuable. And when we don't consider it as valuable, then it gets lost, it gets atrophied away. But if we have something that pushes us to continue to structure our thought, continue to look for patterns and fundamental premises of how things work, if we are trained on first principles, then that muscle strengthens and we're able to apply it to a lot more things. And I think that is what makes a good universalist.
I would agree. It doesn't make sense to me how people can even go through life with more associated type thinking. It doesn't lead to any form of solutions. You can think emotionally, but there's two different sides. You can think more associatively emotionally or logically, and associative doesn't lead anywhere. And wait, why do you believe people live through their entire life without any form of structure?
Well, one thing to say on emotion as well is that logic controls emotion. So your prefrontal cortex is what determines when your limbic system is able to give you dopamine or pain or any sort of feeling. If your values don't align with the thing that's trying to get a response, then it will simply block the signal. So if I tried to eat ice cream, but I really, really know it's bad for me, every single bite I will take will not give me as much dopamine and can actually give me pain. So every single thing that we value, that we have an emotional response to, is controlled by our rationality as well. On your point about why people live their life in an unstructured way, I'd say oftentimes it's because they were raised that way, because they don't see any other option. They don't understand why scientific thought is important. And ultimately, it is kind of that nihilistic worldview. It is the nihilistic assumption that everything is meaningless. And when you surrender to the idea that everything is meaningless, then there is no reason to have structured thought. But if you think that there could be something more than the barren, than meaninglessness, then there is a reason to have structured thought, because it is in order to get to that future thing.
A lot of people have structured thought based on meaningless values. Like, there's not really a point in having structured thoughts, being a heavy Christian, dedicating yourself to the Bible, but they still do at times. They still can build different points, use evidence. So I don't think structured thought is associated with whatever their baseline value is.
It's not. It's a mode of thinking. It's a means. It's like a lens that you can apply.
It is like a lens. I see thinking as a spectrum. There's more this free flowing with no forms of anchor or anything.
Mm.
You can't even track it. Then there's single thoughts that you build one on top of another, pure structure.
Mm.
And as you align, they're both beneficial. Like this is more creative, coming up with new ideas. Like Thomas Edison, he used to sit down in his chair and hold a metal ball, and he would start drifting off into a hypogonic state to get more of this conceptual side.
Yeah, and then it would fall, wake him up, and he would have the kind of perfect state of mind. Yes, the steel ball experiments. Was it Thomas Edison? I'm not sure that it was. I think it was.
Yeah, check it. Salvador Dali did it too, with all of his surreal paintings.
Maybe that's what.
There's been a few people in history.
I've actually tried it. It's very useful. Yeah, I think I was thinking of Salvador Dali. Yes. But yeah, it's the hypogogic state. But I do agree. I think that both of them are important. I would say that both of them can be categorized under pattern recognition. So that is the main sort of intelligence that humans seem to have is pattern recognition. When we are able to describe the world as higher order patterns, like an example I commonly give is a tree is a low level pattern because you can just describe what looks like a tree. This looks like a tree, this looks like a tree, this looks like a tree. A higher order pattern would be something like infrastructure. That's a concept. A dam is infrastructure. Electrical lines are infrastructure. Roads are infrastructure. And the infrastructure is based upon a concept that we have, versus trees are based upon visual information, sensory data. So it's a higher level pattern recognition. And you can go up these levels as much as you want. The thing is, that is what intelligence is based upon for the most part. And we form creativity that way, we form logical thinking that way. So, for example, if I was to build a structured thought, a chain of logic, what that would be is me looking at other chains of logic and then ordering my thoughts into that sort of chain. Or if you think about it in another sense, I have the concept of linearity of building in my head, and then I organize my thoughts to be like that. Versus a more free-flowing kind of thinking is taking a pattern that's more like a liquid, like air, like an ether, and applying that to my thoughts. And so I think a lot of it is pattern recognition. Whatever you recognize as patterns can help you in thinking. Like in meditative states, I've thought in ways that I cannot explain. Like I've thought in a spiral, and I don't know how to explain that, but it was just like a spiral.
Yeah, I have no idea how to perceive that. That seems so beneficial, being able to think in such different ways. Are there any other?
But I don't think it's just structured or free flowing. I think there's many types of thinking.
Do you have any other suggestions on other types of thinking?
I'd say the most useful are those two, though. You are right.
Yeah, I would assume it's a big spectrum, just like the guy with the back brace that he was able to read signals. There could be a lot of different types of thinking. So are higher pattern recognitions... I don't understand. Why is a tree a higher pattern recognition than the concept of...
Lower pattern recognition.
Oh, it's lower? Why is it lower?
Because it's just based upon sensory input. Because a couple neurons in the back of my head fire for that tree. But something like infrastructure, bunch of neurons across the brain have to fire for that. And so, for example, I'll do one that builds upon each other. So I show you a picture of the Hoover Dam, of the Folsom Dam, and of the Chinese, the largest dam in the world. I don't remember how to pronounce the name. But I show you those three pictures. What can you tell me links all three of them? The idea that they are all a dam, right? And that idea is from the fact that they look the same, they have the same function, etc. Now I give you those three pictures of the dam, and then I give you three pictures of power lines and three pictures of roads. What can you say connects all three of them? All nine of them, I guess. Is the idea that they are infrastructure, that they serve the same purpose. Now they don't look alike anymore, but they serve the same purpose. And then I give you all of those, and then also I give you a building, a picture of the internet, a picture of a man, a picture of a car, and you could say what ties them all together is humanity, human civilization, something like that. None of them look the same, none of them serve the same purpose, but there's still a common thread, which is that they all work together. And they work together under the concept humanity. Do you see where I'm going with this?
No.
That you can build upon each other. Those three pictures of the dam is one abstraction. 9 pictures of infrastructure are another abstraction that you build upon the dam.
Oh, it's just like
The
a neural
civilization.
net. That's the point you're trying to get.
Hmm?
Kind of. It's just a net of ideas.
Yeah, and it goes up and up and up. Because you take a thread, there's multiple threads that connect the dams together, but as soon as you introduce pictures of other pieces of infrastructure, the thread that says that they all look the same is gone. You see what I mean?
I do see what you mean. It gets more and more like there's more and more complexity to concepts.
Exactly. What ties them together is less, but it's more of a higher level abstraction.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No idea can really be separate. They're just all based on the newest ideas.
Mhm.
Do you have any other opinions on truth?
No, do you?
No.
All right then. Well, it was a good meeting. Venture forth.
Venture forth.